We'll start with with number 3, right?
Hello and welcome to Opportunity Home San Antonio's special board meeting.
Comes in.
Please note that this meeting will be recorded in its entirety.
Huh?
Yes.
I will now begin by conducting Commissioner roll call. Chair Gabriel Lopez.
Here.
Vice Chair Gilbert Casillas.
Here.
Barbara Unkama Burford. Dalia Contreras. Estrellita Garcia Diaz.
Here.
Janet Garcia. Leela Powell. Doug Ponick, Board of Commissioners Attorney.
I'm here.
Acting President and CEO Michael Reyes.
Here.
We also have an interpreter located at the back of the room should you need their assistance. You may now call the meeting to order. The time is 1:03 p.m.
Just to point out, we don't have the quorum yet for the special board meeting, so we can go through the items, but the board won't be able to take action, and it won't be an official meeting until the quorum is established.
We'll do the committee meeting portion of it.
You can do that as well.
The Board of Commissioners or its committee may hold a closed meeting pursuant to Texas Government Code 551.071-076 for consultation concerning attorney-client matters, real estate, litigation, personnel, and security matters. The board or committee reserves the right to enter into closed meeting at any time during the course of the meeting. Do we have any citizens to be heard?
There are no citizens signed up to speak.
Okay, now we'll go into our individual items. Our first item is consideration and appropriate action regarding Resolution 6598, authorizing the award of a contract for office supplies, related products, and services to Office Depot Incorporated through Omnia Partners Public Sector for an annual cumulative amount not to exceed $2 million for a period of 1 year with the option to renew up to 4 additional one-year terms. George Ayala, Director of Procurement.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. I'm here today to present several resolutions for your consideration. These resolutions aim to streamline our procurement process, ensure we receive competitive pricing, and ultimately improve the operational efficiency. Before I begin, I want to emphasize that the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development actively encourages housing authorities like ours to utilize cooperative and interlocal agreements whenever possible. This is because these agreements simplify procurement, leverage the buying power of larger groups, and ensure compliance with federal regulations. So all of these resolutions that we're bringing today do piggyback off a cooperative or an interlocal agreement, so that's why I just wanted to point that out. Resolution 6598 for office supplies. This authorizes a contract with Office Depot for office supplies, related products, and services. This contract is through Omnia Partners, a public sector purchasing cooperative. By leveraging their established contract, we gain access to competitive pricing and wide selection of products without needing to conduct our own lengthy bidding process. This contract would not exceed $2 million annually and has an option to renew for up to 4 additional one-year terms. This would allow efficiency. This will allow us to efficiently procure the necessary office supplies to support our staff and operations. Any questions on this one?
Any questions? Do I hear a motion to move Resolution 6598 to the board meeting?
So moved.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Item number 4, consideration appropriate action regarding Resolution 6701, authorizing the award of contracts for the purchase of maintenance, repair, and operation supplies and services to HD Supply Facilities Maintenance Ltd., a Florida limited partnership for an annual cumulative amount not to exceed $3 million, and Home Depot USA, a Delaware corporation, for an annual cumulative amount not to exceed $3 million through Omnia Partners Public Sector for a period of 1 year with the option to renew for up to 4 additional one-year terms. George Ayala.
Thank you. As you mentioned, Commissioner, Resolution 6701 covers the procurement of maintenance, repair, and operation supplies. It authorizes contracts with HD Supply Facilities Maintenance, and Home Depot through Omnia Partners. This ensures that we have access to broad-range supplies from reputable vendors and competitive prices. Each contract has have an annual cumulative amount not to exceed of $3 million, with an option to renew for up to 4 additional one-year terms. These supplies are vital for the upkeep and repair of our properties. Any questions?
Any questions?
Make a motion, we approve this resolution.
Okay, we have a motion. Do I have a second?
I second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor of approving Resolution 6701 to the board meeting, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Consideration and appropriate action regarding Resolution 6703, authorizing the award of a contract for fleet services and fuel to the City of San Antonio through an interlocal agreement for an annual cumulative amount not to exceed $500,000 for a period of 1 year with the option to renew up to 4 additional one-year terms. George Ayala.
Okay. This resolution authorizes a contract with the City of San Antonio for fleet services and fuel through an interlocal agreement. This collaboration allows us to leverage the city's existing infrastructure and expertise in fleet management, potentially leading to cost savings and improved service quality. This annual amount would not exceed $500,000, with a potential for 4 one-year terms, additional terms. Maintaining our fleet is essential for providing timely services to our residents and communities. Any questions?
Any questions?
I move to approve.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed, same sign. Motion carries for Resolution 6703 to move to the board meeting. Consideration appropriate action regarding Resolution 6704, authorizing the award of contracts for elevator services, repair, maintenance, inspection, testing, parts, and modernization to Otis Elevator Company through Omnia Partners, Public Sector, and elevators, escalators, and moving walks with related equipment, services, and supplies to Schindler Elevator Corporation and TK Elevator through Sourcewell, a nationwide purchasing cooperative, for an annual cumulative amount not to exceed $5 million for a period of 1 year with the option to renew up to 4 additional one-year terms. George Ayala, Director of Procurement, Hector Martinez, Director of Construction Services, Victoria Phoebus, Director of Beacon Communities, and Ruth Bautista, Director of Public Housing.
Commissioner, as you mentioned, Resolution 6704 addresses our elevator services needs. It authorizes contracts with 3 vendors, Otis Elevator Company through using our Omnia Partners contract, and Schindler Elevator Corporation and TK through Sourcewell. This is another nationwide purchasing cooperative. This multi-vendor approach ensures that we have reliable resources for repair, maintenance, and inspection and modernization of our elevators. The cumulative annual amount for these contracts would not exceed $5 million, with the possibility of 4 one-year renewals. This resolution is critical to ensure the safety and accessibility of our facilities for residents and staff. Any questions?
Where does this particular contract, where does it rank what we spent last year?
So when it came last year it was our first year with Otis. In 2023, we did have $1,521,703 that was awarded to Otis. For 2024, it was $1,201,711. And this not only included service, but it also included modernizations that were already part of the capital projects as well.
Right, okay. Well, I guess my concern is, given some of the areas of concerns that we've had
Yes, sir.
or experienced, wanted to make sure, and it's good to see that we've got 3 now
Yes, sir.
for that reason. But I wanted to make sure. I'm glad that we're funding that, and especially since when our elevators go down in communities that have specifics.
Yes, sir.
Issues.
And most of our concerns were dealing because of the age of our elevators. I think the construction services group did come up with a great plan where we're going to try out different reputable companies that are going to service our elevators, hoping to expedite the process in getting those elevators up and running.
I appreciate that you have multiple companies, because when we were using one, sometimes it seemed like our elevators were down for days and, caused problems with our disabled and elderly residents. This $5 million, is it going to allow to do additional modernizations on the mid-rises?
Yes, Mr. Commissioner, that is correct. So this resolution, it does allow for modernization under this contract. And keep in mind that Otis Elevator, we have them on board again. They're going to maintain the elevators that they modernize currently and are going to modernize currently in our high rises, because those are going to be under their long-term warranty. So we need them on board in that regard. But this will allow us to modernize our existing mid-rises as well.
Okay,
Yes, sir.
thank you. Any other questions?
No.
Being no questions, do I hear a motion to approve?
So moved.
We have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed, same sign. Resolution 6704 is approved to the board meeting. Consideration appropriate action regarding Resolution 6706, reconfirming the use of cooperative purchasing program contracts where Opportunity Home is a participating member, and General Service Administration, the GSA, federal supply schedules for the acquisition of computer hardware, software, and related services by Opportunity Home and its affiliated entities for a period of 1 year with the option to renew up to 4 additional one-year terms. George Ayala, Director of Procurement. Joanne Alvarado, Chief Information Officer.
Commissioners, our last resolution, 6706, reconfirms our use of cooperative purchasing programs and GSA federal supply schedules for acquiring computer hardware, software, and related IT services. This resolution grants us flexibility to purchase from a variety of pre-approved vendors, ensuring we can access the technology we need in a timely and cost-effective manner. This is particularly important in a rapidly evolving field of technology where staying current is crucial for our cybersecurity and operational efficiency. This resolution is valid for 1 year with the option to renew to up to 4 additional years. Any questions?
There's no money involved in this. Is it a cooperative or will we get funds from somewhere for this equipment?
So this particular resolution allows us to utilize any cooperative that we're members, currently approved by the board and we're members of, to access any hardware, software, or IT-related services. So what this means is that we would present this to the board in the form of a report, such as the one that we presented in your package today, where we kind of list every item that has been purchased above the President and CEO's approval authority.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions? No questions. Do I hear a motion for approval?
So moved.
We have a motion. Do I hear a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed, same sign. Motion, Resolution 6706 is approved to go to the board meeting. At this time, I'm going to turn the meeting over to our chair, being that this is a part of the special board meeting, and we will actually be approving some items from this moment forward.
Thank you, Vice Chair. We're, item number 8, consideration and appropriate action. This particular resolution, as well as items 9 and 10, required this body to approve so that way they can move forward. That's why we called it for a special board meeting from a timing perspective. So item number 8, Resolution 6707, authorizing the San Antonio Housing Facility Corporation to approve the inducement resolutions for the following proposed 9% low-income housing tax credit project: Legacy at Lackland Apartments, the Vista at Sunrise Apartments, and the Vista at Sky Harbor Apartments. Lorraine Robles, Chief Real Estate and Development Officer. You're up.
Thank you. It is 9% tax credit season, and so we have developers that have applied under the pre-application process and have now come to us asking for our partnership so that they may submit a full application. Full applications are due by the end of February, and that is the reason for the urgency. So the next 2 items are with regard to 2 developers that have approached us regarding 5 projects. So the first one is Legacy at Lackland, and this is its location. It's southwest of Loop 410 and Medina Base Road. One other thing I want to point out, because we're going to go through these slides, you're going to see a lot of similarities in the projects, and that's by design. Because of TDHCA's scoring process, there you'll see similar locations, you'll see similar unit mix and AMIs. So this one sits in City Council District 4, serviced by Southwest ISD. Total units are 78. And as you can see, they run from 20% of area median income up to 60% of area median income. Unit mix, these are one bedrooms, and this is being proposed as a senior development. Total development cost for this particular development is $21.3 million. Next slide. Vista at Sunrise, located at the Southeast Summerfest Drive and Sunrise Cove Drive. Next slide. It's sitting in City Council District 2, serviced by Judson ISD. Total units 78, and again, ranging in AMIs from 20% of area median income up to 60% of area median income. Unit mix are studios and 2 bedrooms. Next slide. Total development cost is $22.4 million. Vista at Sky Harbor, located at southwest of Old Pearsall Road and Old Sky Harbor Drive. It sits within City Council District 4, serviced by Southwest ISD. Total number of units, 78. Again, unit mix from 20% to 60% of area median income. Unit mixes are studios and 2 bedrooms. Total development cost is approximately $22.4 million. And today we're asking that you approve our moving forward with our development partner in order for them to submit a full application to TDHCA. Any projects that are awarded, and this is a very highly competitive round, there's only $46 million. I'm sorry, there's only $6.6 million available in Region 9, and there's $46 million in asks. So only 2 or 3 projects will get done. We're thinking that we'll at least get one. Anything that we approve today is non-binding, and we'd have to come back to you for final approval. Do you want to take the next item too?
Yeah, I was going to say we can add the next one, but just out of curiosity, council support is the
It's
councilwoman-
required.
No, but she's been in support of these?
Yes.
Okay.
You were saying that these were senior, is it senior mix, senior
It's,
disabled?
yeah, the first one, because of its,
First one?
yeah, one,
It's going to be designated senior only?
I don't know, but it's going to be submitted to TDHCA. Oh, I'm sorry. So it will be senior only, but there's no, I believe it starts at 55 years of age and older.
Okay.
Yeah, let's go ahead and add resolution 67,
07.
6712.
Oh, add it.
There we go.
I'll give the reading. Consideration appropriate action regarding Resolution 6712, authorizing the San Antonio Housing Facility Corporation to approve the inducement. This with regards to 9% LIHTC deal at Marbach Lofts and Tessel Road Apartments, and we'll add this to item number 8 as well.
Thank you. So these projects are being brought to us by NRP Group. Next slide. 6802 Marbach Road. It's located at 6802 Marbach Road in western San Antonio, far west. Sitting in City Council District 6, serviced by Northside ISD. 78 units. Again, area median income from 30% to 60%. This one has a unit mix of 1s, 2s, and 3s. Next slide. Total development costs of $23.7 million. Tessel Road Apartments, located at 6054 Tessel Road. Sitting in City Council District 6, serviced by Northside ISD. 78 units, ranging from 30% of area median income to 60%. Unit mix are 1s, 2s, and 3s. And total development cost is approximately $25 million. And again, just looking for approval to move forward with a full application. Anything that receives an award, we would have to bring it back to you.
There had been some questions previously. Are we, as long as the rights are asset protection language is in place, and I don't know our asset managers here, but if, as long as all that's in place, I don't think I have any other questions about it.
I feel the same.
I just have a question for
Sure.
information. Looking at last year's, I realize it's differs from year to year, but how many 9% applications were there for our region last year?
Do you recall, Tim?
And 3 eventually got funded?
It's really, really difficult.
It's
There's,
2 to 3 a year.
yeah. Everyone can get up to 2 million. So with a pot of 6.6 million, only 3 will get awarded.
Yeah. Thank you.
You're welcome.
If there are no other questions, I'll take a motion on this, on item 67, be item number 8 and number 9, 6707 and 6712. Please note that these will get approved, and they are approved today, so we won't see them back until they come back after a deal's been struck.
I make a motion to approve.
Just a point to clarify, so today, we are taking an action that will allow these applications to move forward. If we don't take the action today, the applications will not move forward, and we don't have an opportunity to be in line for those awards.
Correct. This is just to solidify our place in line. The deals will come back to us once the specific deals are struck.
Great,
But from a timing perspective, it's better to get it approved now.
thank you.
So we have a first. Do we have
A second?
a first and a second? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Items 8 and 9 move or approved.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll move to item number 10, consideration and appropriate action regarding Resolution 6708, approving the La Ventana apartment transaction, including authorizing the San Antonio Housing Facility Corporation to approve Resolution 25 FAC-01-04, authorizing the participation in the La Ventana apartment transaction and other matters in connection therewith. Timothy Alcott, Executive Vice President of Development and General Counsel.
Thank you, Commissioners. I want to remind the Commissioners that we do have in your all's packet a handout that's the sort of the business terms, and so you can see those that you can certainly ask me questions about. As Lorraine mentioned, she put forward the 9%, which is the lottery, and the deeply affordable ones is mission-oriented. The other type is the 4%, which is more the workforce housing. And then we have this one, which is called a PFC deal. As Leila Powell probably asked me later, this is under the new law. And so, anticipating questions. And so the legislator did change the law to make sure there's income averaging and that, there is a true public benefit on this. And so they're not asking for any sort of exceptions. This is underneath the new statute that was the subject of lots of commentary this last legislative session and may come up again this legislative session for HFCs. But the developer here is Marcus Build, and he's a niche builder. And in the fact that what he does is he markets to non-commissioned military. And so in our long-term lease, it says who he's marketing to. He says he has 300 people on the wait list already. And so these people typically have pensions. But the development will be 50% market rate, and then 40% 80% AMI, and 10% 60% AMI that matches the statute. He's done a number of these. He said he has this identical development called La Contessa in Laredo, but he's done these deals in Edinburgh, Austin, New Braunfels, up and down the 35 corridor, and he focuses on the military. There's 272 units, and you can read a lot about it right here where it is, by the way, but it's Calabria and 410 area. It's right by Holmes High School. It's dirt right now. 10 acres next to it will be a community park that he's donating and has worked with the city on. He's talked to the city councilwoman about it, and she's supportive as well. We are he's looking to close this deal in March. That's when his permits apparently expire. The first units will come on board in about 16 months is his timeline, and And by the time the final buildings come on board, which he gives 24 months, he says that he should be over 50% occupancy by the time he gets to the end. If you have any more questions, I can be happy to answer them, but we do have a development policy we bring back to the board. And to remind the board, the development policy says when we make funds on these PFC deals, where the money goes. And so what we like to say is on these PFC deals, which is more the higher income developments, that we put a lot of the funds back into 0 to 15% AMI units, which is our wait list, public housing developments, and gap funding on other projects, because we don't get enough money from the federal government, and so this is a great way to supplement our coffers. And so the business terms, how much money we make, you'll see in the handout. And it's on PCDC, if I said the right acronym there, for the city tomorrow, and then it'll go to the full board in like the 5th or 6th of next month.
Go ahead.
I think this is the chairman's question, but I'll ask it. And the council member for this district
It's Harvard.
is supportive?
Yes, I'm sorry. I think it's her name.
Yeah. And then I hate to give you credit for prescience, but I do have a question for clarification.
Okay.
Just, you mentioned the new state law. It's my understanding that there were some, not necessarily abuses, but that the PFC statute was very broad and very open and allowed for PFC actions to be taken without a great deal of local notice and in ways that were converted, for example, an existing income-producing property to a property that then created a tax gap for that community. It seems like in addition to the new restrictions under that law, this is dirt right now. We're not taking anything off the tax rolls. So just want to clarify that with that, those changes at the state level, that some of the issues surrounding PFC transactions have really been focused down to be more beneficial to local communities.
Right. And so one of the things we had to do 30 days before, at least 30 days, we're way over that. We had to send notices to all the impacted taxing authorities to let them know about it. The reason we're going to city council is because the highest elected official has to approve it as well. And so we're doing that. There are also some of the bigger changes is that you have family size adjustments for incomes. And so how much the percentage of the rent that is paid. So the affordable units, they don't pay more than 30% of their incomes towards rent. So on the 60% and 80% AMIs, you can figure out what that percentage is. All that was not included before the changes. To pat ourselves on the back, we actually required nearly all those things, if not all of them, before the law changed. But other areas may not have had to do so. But the biggest abuse, as you said, Commissioner Powell, was taking existing deals off the tax rolls, not adding any new affordable units, and no longer paying taxes. And there were people that were doing that, and that was a big problem. And that was addressed in this legislative session, and they're now going to address that for HFCs because
That's the vehicle.
they've gone a different vehicle to get the same thing done.
And to clarify again, we didn't carry out any of those transactions where existing deals were taken off the tax rolls.
We did 0 of them, yeah.
Thank you very much.
Thanks. Oh, we need a motion to approve it.
No, well,
Already walked
And-
away.
Sit down.
that's fine.
This developer is in agreement with the requirements that we were asking in the contract through asset management?
So this developer is agreement to the terms I just said? Is that what you, I couldn't hear you.
Is this developer in agreement with us protecting our asset for when we receive it back with the new protections that we're asking?
Yeah, so this is a little bit different. So this one, we won't own it back. This is
Okay.
one that is sold, and so we get 2% after the initial sale, we get 2% of the gross sales price every time it flips. So on the tax credit deals, we have an option to buy it back. We actually don't have that option. It is pursuant to the statute, a 60-year ground lease. What I would suspect is after about 15 years, this development's get a little bit older, they'll become naturally affordable, they want to rehab it and probably go into the tax credit program at that point, and at that point, we'd have an opportunity to buy it. That's my seeing the future in 15 years, which I won't be here, but somebody will.
With regard to that, just to clarify, and sometimes we include this language with these presentations, and I appreciate that. With those capital event fees, will those follow the same uses that we apply our income to currently?
Yes, and so what I want to bring, and perhaps to be the next board meeting, we're still reviewing it internally, and we want to make sure, it's well vetted, but we can talk about, but currently, the current policy, it says all the funds generated from these developments, it doesn't distinguish closing or the capital events 10, 20, 30 years from now, it all goes into the 4 buckets, and which is 3 of them have to do with deeply affordable housing. The last bucket is 10% into capital reserves. But the purpose is, if we have a question about this and say, why are you doing workforce housing, which we all need, as your housing authorities, we can then tell the media, listen, we are actually putting these monies directly, we can show you directly into our gap funding for deeply affordable units, which is, in our case, 0 to 15% AMI, because that's our typical wait list is.
Right. And again, to clarify, it's pretty much impossible to build 0 to 15% AMI housing without a complete subsidy.
Yeah, the gap on those developments is the cost of construction, because, the rent pays for the leasing agent and some insurance, but the gap is whatever the building costs. And right now, these units are costing $250,000 a unit or $225,000 a unit. And so, the sad thing is, when Michael and I were talking about this morning, is that, the amount of money we built, and assuming we didn't do tax credits or have some sort of grant, it's so expensive to build these deeply affordable units. If you make $1 million, that could only be 4 new units, and we have 100,000 people on our wait list. So just put that into perspective.
Thank you.
43,000, something. We're in the 40s.
Oh, all right, whatever.
Okay.
Big number.
Clarification, about 43,000.
Okay.
Approximately. All right, without any other questions, we have, I'll take a motion on item number 10, Resolution 6708.
So moved.
We have a first, we have a second.
Second?
First and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? That is board approved. Righty, we're going to, let's go to item number 11, just follow in order. Resolution 6709, authorizing the Artisan at Mission Creek Apartments Project refinancing, including authorizing San Antonio Housing Finance Corporation to approve Resolution 25-FIN-01-01, authorizing the issuance of San Antonio Housing Finance Corporation Multifamily Housing Revenue Note, Series 2025, authorizing the Housing Facility Corporation to approve 25 FAC 0105, authorizing the formation of a single-member limited liability company to acquire all ownership interests of and take all actions to merge, convert, and/or dissolve ARDC Military Limited, and to provide for the borrowing of funds from San Antonio Housing Finance Corporation and Frost Bank for a loan in amount not to exceed $14.5 million, and all other actions necessary to effect the project refinancing. We also want to authorize Las Vegas Public Facility Corporation to approve Resolution 25 LVPFC-01-01, authorizing the transfer of the general partner interests and all actions necessary to effect the project refinancing and the execution of all documentation necessary to carry out the transactions and other matters in connection therewith. Wow, that's a long one.
In
Veronica,
English,
so-
let's go over what that means.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Tell us what that means then.
So essentially, Artisan at Mission Creek is a tax credit deal that I have brought to you previously to request permission to acquire the investor limited partner interest, very standard practice that we do. As a reminder, this was the first project that we did our heavily vetted, is this a good idea process. I wholeheartedly recommend that we acquire this asset. I'm coming back to you today because we've had to pivot on the way that we are going to go about obtaining the asset. We were previously going to acquire the current loan, but that has proved to be substantially more complicated and not as good of a deal as we had thought it was going to be. We have negotiated an extension with the investor limited partner to acquire, because we actually are past our time. December 31st was our time limit on that, so we've negotiated an extension, and we intend to refinance the asset with Frost Bank, which is what we probably should have done in the first place, but I thought it was going to be a better way to go about it, so I was wrong. And that's essentially what we're looking for.
Do we have any questions? Just out of curiosity, I noticed the CFO in the crowd. Full agreement? Oh, yes. Okay.
She's come in and told me and given me the finger. Well, we're good. She's good.
Stand by. So I know you're looking. All right,
So we're buying this property.
yes, we're buying it.
Yes, so the board has previously approved for us to acquire the interest and purchase this property. The only thing that I'm asking to do now is to leverage new debt with Frost Bank versus acquire the existing mortgage.
And what is the condition of the property at the moment? I know it's 92%, so it must be in good condition.
Yeah, the property is in good condition. It's well occupied. We did a full physical inspection. Hector could speak to that if you have more questions than I can give you, but we did a property assessment, did not identify any issues of concern. We've done a full file audit and have addressed those minor concerns at that time. And so this property has been well vetted, and I don't have an issue that there's unknown items that we can't account for. So.
And any debt on the payables that we need to be concerned about?
No, I can give you the payables. I'm not prepared with that right this second, but it would not be of a concern.
Okay, well, no, any questions? Now, given that, Doug, this would be a question for you. If we approve this now, it's approved.
Right. This is a special meeting.
So if you're comfortable with that, we can approve it today.
Chairman, it seems like this is what we've been asking staff to do, is to figure out the best way to address, to go through all of our portfolios and figure out the best way to ensure that each property has the resources necessary for maintenance and improvement, and if not, what steps do we need to take, and to a certain extent, allowing us to focus time and attention on properties that have significant issues.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. And I appreciate you reviewing it the way that you have.
Sure, and typically the occupancy drives the cash flow. You know, a well-occupied property typically has appropriate cash flow to pay for not only operating costs but reserve for replacements, and so they all go together if absent of one. And so the next item we're talking about has some occupancy issues, and that sort of stemmed all of the other challenges. But in this case, this property does not have occupancy issues. The management agent, Franklin Management, and the community manager have done a really good job to get this property ready for us as well. So I do want to thank them, because when we started this process, it was in the low 90s, high 80s, and so they've done a good job to get it moving along where we needed it to be. So,
Okay, with that being said, I'll accept the motion on item number 11, Resolution 6709.
Being that Diana's given a thumbs up and you're giving it a thumbs up, I make a motion for approval.
Second.
We have a first and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That one is board approved.
okay, thank you.
Sure. Item number 12, consideration and appropriate action regarding Resolution 6711, authorizing San Antonio Housing Facility Corporation to make a subordinate operating deficit loan for the Park at Sutton Oaks apartment project. Other matters in connection therewith, Miranda Castro, Chief Asset Manager.
Yeah, so I have Ryan Baldwin is here with me to answer some of the questions. We've decided to come to this as a unified team. This is where we're at. This is how we got here. This is our plan to go forward to address the concerns, and this is our plan that this doesn't happen again. So Park at Sutton Oaks is. Can you advance to the next slide? Park at Sutton Oaks is there's a 1 and 2 phase asset. It's a legacy public housing land. There is Park at Sutton Oaks and Sutton Oaks. And so all of the guarantees on these properties have burned off. So there is not a guarantee, and I just need to be transparent. You do not have to make any action on this, but because it is in the best interest of the community to preserve the legacy public housing, I'm asking you to make the investment. So this property has had some significant occupancy issues, which do drive everything else. And so we're in a position where the vendor to trade services are cut off. The property is not cash flowing. There's about $482,000 owed on accounts payable. We have negotiated with Franklin to defer their management fee, so we would not be paying that at this time. The end goal is to get this property stabilized, to be able to acquire the interest in this phase. This is phase two, thank you. And then we would also be looking to acquire phase one. Phase one is doing really, really well. Ryan gave me the numbers this morning, so they're at 91% occupancy. They have 2 pending move-ins, so they're actually at 93% occupancy. So that property is operating fantastically. I am working to negotiate an early buyout with that investor limited partner to keep the economies of scale in this asset. They share a common driveway. It makes the most sense that we would acquire together. And then long-term goal is likely to do either a re-syndication or to put this through a PFC transaction it will solve for the deferred maintenance and do a renovation on it. And so right now I'm asking you for assistance with step one of probably step 5 to get this property right-sided, turn back on our vendor operations, get money. I'm asking for $135,000 to make ready 55 units. We are targeting to make ready 15 units, which is 7% every month for the next 4 months, I believe the schedule said. 4 months, Ryan? 4 months, okay. Yes, I just don't want to tell you the wrong thing. And so we are trying to get this property back to where it needs to be, but it does need an infusion of cash to do so. So I'm asking for authorization for $500,000. I don't intend to use all $500,000. So I would like to pay $266,000 to the trade line vendors. That gets the trade line down to 0. It opens all of the accounts back up. And then I'm also asking for $135,000 to make ready the 55 units. Can you advance to the next slide, please? So this is an example of some of the photos of made-ready units. They are nice units. Once they're made ready, we would be using the same vendor. I wanted to make a note that the vendor is willing to extend the property a credit based on the fact that we were not going to get approval for this until March. So he was willing to do the work in advance, knowing that he would get paid if the board wanted to approve this. So if you would approve this today, we could get started tomorrow on this, and that would be great for the property. Can you go to the next slide? These are also photos of the community at large, and it shows the not fabulous condition of this property. And so part of the $500,000 that I'm asking for would solve for fixing the swimming pool that's green right now, doing some pressure washing, making some playground and common area repairs, just in general, just making it look nicer. And so that's what we're trying to solve for.
Is this the one that's at 35 on Walters?
Yes.
Looks nice from the outside. I mean, it looks like a nice...
You're looking at the front. If you go in the
Right.
back, that's what we're talking about. That doesn't look quite so
So
nice.
the aesthetics in front are good, and when you go deeper in it...
It's an interesting layout in that they share a common driveway, and you cannot tell that there's a second phase
Right.
in the back
One in the back.
until you go there. And so I think that for a lot of different reasons, that was one of the challenges, is that you as a tenant would go to the property. You wouldn't realize there was 2 different properties. You'd always end up at the front one, which subsequently is the one that's doing really well. So that's one of the challenges.
Just to take a lot of that and put it into
Simplification.
simplified language.
Yes.
So occupancy has been low. The property hasn't been able to pay its bills.
Correct.
We've stopped being able to hire people to fix things. So conditions are deteriorating.
Rapidly.
Rapidly.
Yes. So as of today, right now, we're at 72.6%. There are 7 pending move-ins. That will get the property to 76%. 72% is good as it's been in some months. Ryan and I have been talking at length on a weekly call about solving for this property for a very long time. I would say at least 6 months we've been on a call to try to get this property right-sided. And so there are some significant challenges. And when you have a property that's so, it was never made to operate on 72% of its income. And that's also not accounting for the delinquency. And so you have your occupancy and then you have your economic occupancy, which is the difference of people living in the unit that aren't paying their rent necessarily. And so these properties were never designed to run at that income level. And so it's no fault. It's just this property got in trouble in the pandemic. We didn't necessarily do any favors by extending the moratorium on evictions. And so when it finally opened up in August of 23, it's a year process to get somebody to move out. And so it was lengthy.
So if you're living there, 1 in every 4 units is vacant.
Yes.
Maintenance isn't being done.
Correct. I would say maintenance is being done on work orders in the event that they have the ability to do a work order from being able to get the pieces and parts. And Ryan can speak to that a little bit better. He's overseeing the day-to-day operations if you're interested in that. But essentially, we're at a standstill.
But this action we would take today would allow us to go back and make visible improvements. We frequently hear when we're out in community from residents that vacant units are scary and perceived. I'm not 100% sure that I have the data to say they definitely are, but they seem to be a security concern.
Yeah.
And so the idea that we would be able to do the work, bring units back online, get people back into units, not only helps that bottom line, but it also creates a perception that there are more neighbors. It's that having empty units on either side seems to be an invitation for vandalism. I know we take steps sometimes to board up units, which makes the place feel.
It feels like you live in an abandoned apartment when the 2 neighborhoods are boarded up and with plywood, and it doesn't look good. And that doesn't really stop people from coming in and the criminal element is going to do what they want to do regardless of the steps that we take. And so they typically do a lot of damage when they come in, and they do vandalize. They're breaking glass, they're taking appliances, they're taking the water heater. Sometimes they pull the drywall out to take the copper plumbing. I mean, it's just.
So it's like a spiral.
Yes.
Units are vacant, so
yes, and it goes on and on. This vendor that Franklin has, I can't say procured because they don't have to do procurement, but they have found is kind of revolutionary in the way that they're doing their work. They actually have people that will live there. The vendors stay in the units because that's the challenge. You get the unit made ready. Inevitably, somebody then comes in right before the tenant has to move in, breaks in, messes the whole thing up, and then you've got to start all over again. And so this vendor is going to be able to have someone that's essentially their employee sleeping in the unit so that there's a person, and so then no one breaks into the unit, and then they will go on to the next unit as soon as somebody moves in.
That is very innovative. Thank you.
It is very innovative.
And this, again, is part of this whole process when you came on board to look at the whole portfolio and figure out some individualized, tailored solutions so that poor performers could be brought up to the level of standards that our residents would expect.
So the security, the workers that live in the apartment, that's not my idea. I don't want to take credit for that. But this was part of the evaluation of the portfolio about what are the troubled assets, how can we improve those operations, and where do we need to go. And so this property was one of the 4 that I'm concerned about. The other 4 we've spoken at length about that we have good solutions to. And so once we get this property in a good positive direction, I'm feeling really good about the rest of the portfolio.
And Ryan, what's the number of units in phase 1?
Phase 1's 194.
So, and we're 90 to 93% occupied in phase 1.
Yeah.
So with these type of improvements, arguably we could get this one up pretty quickly.
Yeah, so they have adjusted the staffing, which I was very adamant about. They've gone to a campus manager. So the manager that was operating phase 1 that was operating and running really well is now the campus manager of the entire project. She's shown through work that she can make these properties in good order. We have weekly conversations. I have zero hesitation that she can do this, but she's pushing up a wagon with no wheels up the hill, right? There's no funds for her to be able to get units rent ready. She can't really do anything other than just tread water. And so with this insertion of funds, it's going to allow her to be able to do the job that I know that she can do. And there would be no reason to expect that we wouldn't, in the next 4 to 6 months, be in a good position. So.
All right, we heard that, 4 months.
No, you're on,
Yeah.
You just said.
you're on the clock, Ryan.
Made a note of it.
I know, right? You heard it here.
I have a couple of questions.
Yes.
How high has that property been, occupancy been?
How
Has it always been in the 60s, 70s?
So historically, no, right? And you can, I don't want to, I haven't worked here that long, so I don't want to speak to historic, but.
Now, is it that low because of the, what is the AMI structure on that property?
This particular project has 49 units at 30%, which are our public housing units. Then we have another roughly 20% that are 50%, and then another bundle of 60%, and we have a handful of market rate units. Occupancy historically before May of 2022 was sitting around 93, 94%. Okay. But we had a huge delinquency issue, and we had gone to Tom Roth at that time to say we need to get rid of 47 people, and that's kind of where we are.
Okay.
But historically, it's always stayed in low to mid-90s.
Okay.
Which will be done in 5 months, because they'll have it done in 4 months. A month to.
Now, Miranda, will we be taking over this property soon, or
So that is the plan. This is step 1 of step 5,
are
as
we
I
almost
said.
at 15 years?
So the Park at Sutton Oaks exits next year, and so it would be my intention to acquire. I have to also acquire the phase 1 that exits not until 2029, and so I'm trying to work with that investor limited partner so we can get both together. But that is the plan, is to acquire and own and operate, because this is legacy public housing that we just, in full faith, we just can't let that go.
Well, then I think it's a good idea to put these funds into it so that way we get it up to where it needs to be, so that way we have a good property when we get it.
I agree.
Are you making the motion?
I'll go ahead and make an motion to approve.
I second.
We have a first and a second. All in favor for item number 12, Resolution 6711?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That one also is board approved.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, we have,
So we're done with the special.
yeah, so I know that from a timing perspective, I want to be, I don't want to call you out, but I mean, it's.
You have to leave.
Right, so we just have actually just the discussion item. So let's go ahead and do that. Discussion regarding opportunity home recruitment and staffing update. Jeannie Rodriguez.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. My slide presentation will come up. And I'll be reporting numbers for the first 6 months of the fiscal year, starting July 1st and ending through December 31st. The agenda will include year-to-date information across the different departments and some other recruitment processes. So on this next slide, we start with the number of our head count as of 7/1, and so that was 582. Through the 6 months, we hired 16 employees. We had 78 depart, and our head count at the end of the year is 520. That's on 12/31. On the next slide, we take the head count, we subtract it from the starting budgeted positions, the number of positions that were actually budgeted, which provides our variance of 158. On the next slide, we start breaking down that variance to then show the number of positions on hold. And I'll explain the holds. And then we also apply our temp status employees. Our temp status employees, we have several agencies that provide temp status employees, and several of them do transition. But our final number, our actual vacancies at the end of the year, is 32. So on the next slide, this provides a very detailed department by department count on, we break down where we started, hires, terms, transfers, and that gives us our ending head count. And then again, the budget data with regards to starting budget and our variance. And so on the next slide, I want to explain the positions in hold status. So we have some holds where our director may tell us, like, don't fill that position. I'm working to potentially upgrade it, downgrade it, change it. I'm looking at my staff. So hold on, I have it budgeted, but don't fill it. And then other holds, of course, reflect the recent budget changes, which include the reduction in force. That is the larger number of holds that you're seeing on this report. So the budget vacancies that you're seeing in the report reflect that we've had movement. We've moved some individuals from asset management. We moved some individuals from construction. Again, just better aligning those functions and those positions across the different departments that they can move to. So on the next slide, I do want to report out, we have 23 formal promotions. So in this 6-month window, internal employees have been promoted into more responsibilities, more salary through these promotions. And then we currently have 13 working out of class, which are essentially interim promotions. So in that working out of class, successful, then they formally get promoted into formal promotions. And then back to our temp status activity. We presently have 32 active status employees. We have 8 working in project capacities. So when they're working as project temps, our communication to them is that you're not filling a vacancy, you're helping us through a workload issue. And so, but it's a very good place to be in terms of doing the work, getting their foot in the door, networking. So far to date, in this fiscal year, we've had 4 people transition from temporary status to full-time status. And in total, we have filled about 59 total temporary assignments. So on this next slide, I'm open to any questions or anything that you all might have for me.
Does it cost us more to hire a temp than it does to hire somebody right out?
Not necessarily. There is a markup to their hourly rate. And so we pay them the minimum pay of the pay range that we do with our full-time employees. So we are paying that markup. Where we find the savings is that if that position is not working out, if they're not meeting the performance standards, it is a faster process to end the assignment. We will give feedback to the employee through their onboarding and give them the opportunity to showcase that they can do the work. But if it's not working
We
out,
save there, we save on benefits.
you would save on, correct.
Because I was always wondering, you hire all these temps and they get paid the salary, plus there's a markup for the
Yes, sir.
for the agency and stuff. So I think this may be a question for Diana.
Okay.
How are we sitting on the budget as far as salaries go for all the staff that we have on hand? Are we?
Still below budget, and Aaron will be given a presentation at the next committee meeting,
Okay.
finance committee, but the financials are holding strong, really good.
Okay. Thank you.
I have just a question about turnover, and I'm looking at the breakdown a few slides back of where these 582 positions are located by department. And I know that in the past we've had issues with our, frontline kind of communications folks who are answering phones and addressing resident issues. Where are those personnel located, in which department?
So we have some in up support, which is our lobby areas. And so about 12 to 16 positions in that department for op support. Mm-hmm. And then out at properties, we have admins and we have CSSs, client support specialists. So out at the properties, those are the positions that are fielding the questions, the support services, request, and that both for, in the public housing side, it's the CSSs. Mm-hmm. On the Beacon side reported here, it's the leasing agents. So, yes.
So what kind of turnover are we seeing? Are we still seeing elevated turnover? I'm thinking particularly of the ops support folks who are in our lobbies and interacting on a one-on-one. Are those the areas where we see the highest turnover in our staff?
The highest turnover continues to be in the maintenance area.
Maintenance, okay.
Yes, ma'am. But in these areas, it has stabilized. And ever since our last class in comm in May 2023, we saw that stabilization of these positions. Some of the turnover we're having is refilling them because of their promotion opportunities. So the career path for a CSS, for a leasing agent, is senior CSS, senior leasing agent, assistant community manager. And this is where those working out of class are really instrumental to have them go into that position temporarily, see that they can do the job. So the turnover, some of that is coming from the fact that we're succession planning.
Turnover.
It's very positive because they're moving up through the positions.
Thank you.
So, yes, definitely.
By the way, welcome.
Thank you.
You're first, I think, right?
It's, yes, one of the first times in this
Okay.
capacity, so.
Any other questions with regards to recruitment?
No, thank you.
No other questions?
None?
All right. Thank you.
Nice job, thanks.
I want to say something before we go to close.
Please, go ahead.
I mentioned to say this when I opened the meeting and before, because when we're finished, we'll close. But I want to welcome everybody back from the new year. Hope everybody had a great holiday season and a happy new year. And it's good to see everybody after a month break. And thank you for the work that you're putting in and doing what you're doing for this agency and the residents. And I also want to thank Mission Park Apartments and their staff, their community manager, Tam, their maintenance supervisor, Richard, the assistant manager, Priscilla, the senior maintenance tech, Nolan, the resident coordinator, Centoy, and the leasing agent, Jarlene. Thank you for hosting us, and thank you for allowing us to come in and spend a few hours on your property. And I know that we appreciate it. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, if I can just add to what Commissioner Casillas said about Mission Park, wanted to thank the staff here. I'm reminded that I often tell staff that this is a children's organization, and what better example at Mission Park where 60% of the residents here are kids. And so when we reflect on what happened a few minutes ago with line item 10 and La Ventana, right, those proceeds are coming into properties like this to invest into. We often use properties, we use this jargon, but we're investing in kids. And so I wanted to loop it back to where we're at and the actions this board took today. So just wanted to make that connection.
There's been a pretty cute kiddo playing.
And there's
out
kids
there on
playing,
the-
they're playing the whole entire
A
time.
little dinosaur in a
Right.
sweater, and so, but I've been paying attention. I just noted that, just tangentially.
Any other
No,
items?
Counselor?
We actually will, there's no need for us to
Go to close.
go to closed.
No.
So, with that being said, I'll take a motion to adjourn,
So moved.
unless we have any other items. If we don't, we got a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Meeting is adjourned. Thank you all.
Wow. Shortest committee meeting.